All right, so let's talk about how no contact changes the way a man views you. All right, and we're gonna be talking about it from three different perspectives. We're gonna talk about it from a neurological perspective, right? And I've consulted some people about this, and the other one is about the psychology of no contact, right? What happens psychologically, right? And the other one is what happens in terms of his physiology, like what happens in his body, and when you put that all together, you can have a more clearer understanding why no contact is such a powerful method, because we see it everywhere in life. We go no contact with people, and it has such a profound effect on humans, especially when you reunite with people, and it has such a blinding effect as well, that is good to know, and it's good to have trust in that strategy, not as a way to manipulate people, but as a way to allow people space to breathe so that they can appreciate you, as a way for you to know that your compulsion to always be around people can sometimes sabotage you, and to withhold yourself, and to learn how to have self-control. And if you want to learn how to have more self-control, you guys can pre-order my course. People, I'm gonna release it in 5 days. It's just we're getting some things done. You can pre-order it right now in the description down below where it says pre-order Emotional Mastery, or you guys can attend our seminar in London. It's about non-verbal communication. It's one of my favorite seminars. It's about topics that I haven't talked about on this channel yet. All right, so let's begin with the video, and don't forget, hit the like button and subscribe, or I'm closing the channel. So let's first look. No contact is a strategy that a lot of coaches talk about. In fact, there's like YouTube channels specifically focused on no contact, right? Because those channels focus on helping people get back with their exes, right? Talk about being hard-headed, where you make a channel specifically on no contact. No contact has its limits, people, right? It is not a magic wand. It is not a cure-all to everything. No contact, what it does is that it reveals to you what's already there, or it enhances what's already there. In other words, if the person likes you, it'll reveal to you that they like you, and also it'll enhance it. But if the person does not like you, it will not enhance what's not there, but it'll reveal to you that the person doesn't like you. You get what I'm trying to say? So that's like the magical power of no contact, is that it gets you close to reality. It grounds you in reality. Joe Biden knows about that. Being grounded in reality. He understands. Look, man, I feel bad for that he fell, man. My grandma, she was like, "Oh, I can't believe it." My evil granny, right? Are you making fun of him? Of an old man, you asshole? No, I'm not making fun of him. It's just that when Fidel Castro fell, I laughed. All right, it's funny when people fall to me. It's my evil side. So let's talk about the neurology, right? Look, understand that when you see someone you haven't seen after a while, it activates the region of your brain, which is your hippocampus, right? Which is responsible for forming and retrieving memories, right? It's what allows you to remember the good things, to remember your past, right? And what it does is that it creates almost like a bias, because when you see someone that you had positive emotions associated to them, it kind of blinds you, and you forget about the negative things that they've done to you, right? You only remember the good. So if you were acting really needy with the guy, and you were acting really desperate, and you haven't seen them in a while, what it does is that it's almost like it hits a reset button, and the person literally forgets the negative things, and you only remember the positives. It's one of those biases, and that's why, like China, like there's been studies that show that people will forget the bad things a country does within 20 to 30 years, right? So it's like people have an easier time forgetting the bad, and an easier time remembering the good. It's a bias that humans have in every aspect of life, right? That's why politicians could do a lot of crazy stuff, and then people will just forget it and just remember the good. Right? Why? Because the brain has a bias towards remembering the good and forgetting the bad. Maybe it was done because we're social animals, and we can't survive just remembering the bad, and it's like it benefits us to have a positive bias. Right? So that's how it affects the hippocampus, and what it does is that then it floods your brain with positive memories, and your frontal cortex sort of just creates it doesn't think rationally, because you're so emotional. Your brain is bringing up so many nostalgic memories that you just have a crazy bias towards the positive. And that's why a lot of you guys watch this channel, because you're with someone who maybe is acting hot and cold, and you only remember the good and forget about the cold. And that's why when I tell you these things, a lot of you guys watch it, because it kind of sets your path straight again, because of your natural bias to only remember the good when you like the person. So also your frontal cortex, right? This bias towards positive memories may be due to the way the brain processes and stores emotions, right? Studies have shown that emotional memories are more vivid and memorable than neutral ones, and that positive emotions are associated with greater memory retention than the negative emotions. That is such a deep thing. This may be due in part to the release of neurotransmitters such as dopamine and norepinephrine, which are associated with enhanced memory consolidation and retrieval. So it's almost like if you see a tree that gives you fruits, right, and you're in a hunter-gatherer society, your brain will remember what that tree was by releasing dopamine. And so you'll go back and say, oh my God, look, man, this was crazy. Look at the tree and you know exactly where to go. But your brain will imprint that memory because it's beneficial to you, right? And that's why addicts, they can smoke crack and do a lot of that stuff, and you ask yourself, why are they not aware of the negatives? It's because they're only focusing on the high and only retrieving those memories, and they suppress the negative memories, like a gambler who only remembers the wins and forgets about the losses, right? That's how the addiction starts, right? So that's a neurology of it. Now, what happens to the body, right? What happens to what happens to the psychology of a man when there's no contact? So when you were acting needy and you pushed him away, or maybe he mistreated you, and you go back, right? In his mind, he's gonna stop seeing you as a needy person, at least for the moment. At least for the moment, he's not gonna see you as a needy person. What would happen, because so many positive memories are being remembered, and your value raises because of the positive bias that he has, simply because his brain is just flooding him with norepinephrine and dopamine. So how does that affect the psychology? Well, psychologically, there's something called the Rosy retrospective effect, right? Which is influenced by many factors. One possibility is that we tend to idealize the past relationships and experiences, especially when they are no longer present in our lives. We tend to exaggerate how good our childhood was. We tend to exaggerate there's a bumblebee. We tend to exaggerate how good a certain moment in our lives were. I like to think of nostalgia as an emotion. To me, nostalgia is an emotion that enhances everything in the past and reduces the negatives. So when you idolize the past, right, especially when they are no longer present in our lives, this may be due in part to a desire to preserve positive self-concepts and maintain a sense of continuity with the past. So this nostalgia will because when you were away, this guy was only thinking about the positives, right? The good times, the pom pom, the time you guys ran and walked together. And so in the period of no contact, they're creating fantasies. And without you even knowing it, you're becoming a figure of his imagination, a fantasy. And when they see you, this whole time they were seeing you in their minds, and now their fantasies came true. Now a dream became reality. Maybe they even dreamt of you. Similar to when an addict stops taking drugs, they'll start thinking or even dreaming about getting high, and they'll even feel the high. You became a dream come true to them. And so this exaggeration is why no contact is so powerful. So another possibility is that we may selectively focus on positive memories as a way to cope with the stress and uncertainty of reuniting with the loved ones after a loss of absence. So by you leaving them, naturally they're going to feel negative emotions, right? The brain is going to release a lot of stress hormones and stress or neurotransmitters that causes stress, right? And this contrast between not having you and being stressed out and just imagining the good things and the pleasures that they had with you creates an intense bias where you completely reset how the person sees you in their minds by applying these strategies. By focusing on the positive memories, we may be able to reduce anxiety and increase feelings of comfort and security. So then they begin to use you as a pacifier. And this whole time, and sometimes the longer the no contact, the more intense that experience is. So you can see how no contact a lot of the times has to do with nostalgia. Now the problem is that a lot of you people will, it's like somebody giving somebody $1 million and paying all of their debts. Eventually, they're going to be in debt and broke again. Why? Because it's their habits that got them there. A lot of you guys will reap the benefits of this strategy initially. And then once they see the positives, then you guys go back to your old behavior and recreate what happened, right? And that's why mindfulness is so important. That's why learning how to breathe and be present in a moment will prevent self-sabotage in that regard. Now, we're going to go to a quick 1-minute commercial break, people, okay? All right, people. So if you haven't had a chance to purchase any of my courses, which is, I don't know how you haven't after watching all of these videos, I'm giving you guys an opportunity to purchase all of them now at a bundled price, right? By purchasing it, instead of paying $4.93, you guys can pay $3.94. So that means you get Nice Girl. That means you get the psychological game of attraction. That means you get natural chemistry. And that means you get a bunch of other bonuses, all at a 20% off discounted rate, right? Or if you guys do not want to purchase all of the bonuses, you guys can just get the bundle where you get all of the courses without the bundles for just $2. So, now let's talk about the physiology of no contact, right? What happens to a man's body when he's away? Now, we understood that the brain releases a lot of neurochemicals that creates a bias. That if you were needy in the past, by you having no contact with the guy, he's gonna remember only the positives and forget all of the needy and thirst McGirt type of shit that you did. Like, he's just gonna forget all the thirsty stuff you did, all the begging, right? Until you do it again. Because the problem is with a lot of people is that we're creatures of habit. We never do things just once. So you may reap the benefit. It's like going on a diet. And once you feel like you reached your ideal weight, then you start eating and return and lose all of the benefits you reaped. All because you didn't work on the one thing, which is your compulsion. And you could do that through developing a meditation practice or pre-ordering my course, Emotional Mastery, people. So the physiology of it is this, is that men deal with no contact differently than women. All right. When a woman is dumped to the curb, kicked to the side, right? A woman will seek support from her friends and family. And a man will deal with it through action, right? So a man will naturally, rather than feel sad, they'll feel anger and frustration. And so what they do is that the men will distract themselves. And men deal with emotions differently. Women talk it out. And men deal with it through action. They get physical. In other words, some of them fight, yeah. But what I'm referring to is that they'll play sports, they'll start lifting weights, right? Their body is more tied up with their physicality. And the way that they express their emotions is not in a verbal way, but more of a physical way. So when people say men don't express their emotions, is that men don't express their emotions like women do. We have a bias to think that expressing emotion is a verbal thing. It's not. We could also express it physically, because before we had the ability to talk, how the hell do you think we expressed our emotions? We expressed it through physical shit. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, Alex, he's a fucking ape. I know it. Get out of here, Melissa, being racist. Right? We may cancel Melissa for that shit, man. She called me an ape, man. Man, we had to hit up the NAACP on that one. All right, so when men don't see their women for a long time, right? When you create no contact, they create more. Studies show that they measured how much sperm a man creates when there's distance between them and their woman, and that they create more volume sperm to put in their bodies, right? Once they get the pum pum and they shoot up the club, scientists, these pervy scientists, right? I imagine how that came about, man. I was like they measured the volume in sperm, and hey, man, they shot the load, man. They shot out the club, like they shot it up. And the reason why men produce more volume is because it has evolved, because women would mate with other men in the past when their men were away. A man couldn't track her through his phone, right? He wasn't just going to the grocery store to make food. That motherfucker was crossing rivers, was crossing terrain to get food, right? And so they were away from their women, right? And so so evolutionarily, men had to find a solution to deal with these cheating girls, these cheating prehistoric chicks, like prehistoric thoughts. Like they had to find a way to deal with that. And natural selection found a strategy is that when they were away from their woman, they just created a higher amount of sperm, and it made their penis to be like a mushroom, so that when they have sex, they go pull out sperm and then shoot up the club, right? So they produce. So it's almost like they create like a world sperm, like a war between sperm, right? And so they even counted this. Look at this, right? And it said when men spent 100% of the time together with a woman, men inseminated 389 million sperm. Now watch this. And when they were only 5% of the time with their woman, men inseminated them with 712 million troops. Almost doubling. God have mercy. I mean, that dick was shaking, right? It also increases when there's the sperm of other men inside of her. Jesus Christ! It's like their penises have another sense perception of other sperm. It's unbelievable. So men have the physical ability to create more sperm if their wife has an opportunity to be unfaithful or space. So all of this will just make you look sexier in a man's mind, right? You're just gonna look hotter, right? When they come back and there's no contact and they see you again, they want to pounce. And in their minds, they're only remembering the good things about you. They're only remembering the positive. They forget the negatives of the needy shit. Maybe you even hit them and they'll forget that shit, right? But those are physically, you're gonna look more consumable. That's the way I like to put it, right? You look more delicious to him. They want you more. They want to tap that ass. You know what I'm saying? So but you gotta understand, a lot of these results are temporary. Why? One, it's just an heightened arousal state, and anything that arises descends. But also, what got you to need no contact most likely hasn't been fixed, right? Most likely you're still needy. Most likely you still use male attention to cope with stress. You gotta learn to develop a mindfulness meditation practice to deal with it. Why? Because like I always say, meditation increases your capacity to deal with intense emotions, and also meditation shortens the length of time that you're gonna feel intense emotions. So if you feel negative out of 1 out of 10, usually at a 10, and it usually lasts for 2 days, when you practice meditation, you'll begin to notice that what was a 1 out of 10 now is a fucking 5 out of 10, right? Or even 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. And what took 2 days to recover from it now takes 1 day. And what happens is that you're just raising your emotional immune system. That's all you're doing. You're raising your emotional immune system. And a lot of people out there that watch my channel, if you're new, most likely you have a low emotional immune system, and you gotta build that up through meditation and good sleep. Because good sleep allows you to regulate emotions a lot better than when you have bad sleep. All right, ladies, so I never detailed to you guys the kind of coaching packages that I have to offer. So let's talk about this, right? So if you guys work with me one-on-one, you guys can get all the 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 45 minutes calls starting at 120 and finishing at 240. I don't do 1 hour call because it never felt necessary to do 1 hour call. And most importantly, the phone calls, as you'll know if you purchase it, are 100% private. And if you want to save up on multiple sessions, what you guys can do is purchase a bundle, right? Where you guys can purchase 3 sessions at a discount, right? Whereas you originally 270, 720, you could get it for 600. 30 minutes call will be naturally will be 540. This time it will be 450, and etc. Right? And also I have something called Coach in a Pocket, where you guys can hire me for a whole month, and it starts at 1,500 a month, but you guys have access to me for a whole day. Like, it starts at that, so it's like for 2 or 3 times a week, you guys have access to me 24 for those 24 hours. So if you guys have like an ongoing relationship thing that needs to be managed, and you need me in your pocket instantly, that's the package to get first. But I initially recommend you purchasing one of the one-on-one sessions first, so that I could assess your situation. And if I feel like it needs more time, then yes, you guys can do that. Another thing that we have is that you guys can ask email questions with a character limit of 2K, where for $90 you guys can ask me a question, and those videos, those email questions, you guys can make it very specific so that nobody knows it's you, because they're the ones that I make on YouTube, right? But if you guys want the private ones, get the one-on-one coaching calls. And one last thing is that if you order a one-on-one session with me, you guys can also purchase any of my courses at 50% off. All you got to do is just ask me, and I'll just, whichever course you want, you can get it at 50% off. So the one-on-one coaching calls are things that are made to be private, specific, and straight to the point. All right. Click in the description down below to work with me one-on-one, and I'll see you guys there, or I'm closing the channel.